What's up, everyone? I'm Scott,
And I'm Jason.
and you are listening to Liquid Carnage. My friend, we have survived. Hurricane Hillary, 2023, in the books. Tropical Storm Hillary, by the time it got to somewhat western Arizona.
Yeah, yeah. And yet I talked to my mom who lives in Las Vegas, and she said it was 68 degrees on Sunday.
Yeah,
68 degrees. And
it was 82 here. I mean, it was beautiful.
yeah, it was 90, but it was still pretty nice weather. And but we didn't get very much. I mean, we got a sprinkle here and there, but nothing major, so we
You know, I,
survived
I,
that.
I watched the weather reports on it all, and the coolest thing I saw was Bleacher Report. They sent a picture of Dodger Stadium like right after the storm passed.
Yeah.
And the parking lot in Chavez Ravine was submersed and the field was flooded. And then they posted another picture less than 12 hours later. And if you didn't know any better, it was game day. They were ready to go.
Do you remember when there was those news reports out of Las Vegas when the one of the casinos or one of the bars got flooded and there was water coming through the big screen TV?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you realize, wow, what I'm seeing, I don't believe it. So I can imagine the pictures of Chavez Ravine being totally submerged underwater would kind of be like shocking.
Well, what's crazy is that's on an actual ravine. So it's on a hill. So all that water had to go downhill. So it's mind blowing that this weather pattern hit. It hit Vegas very hard. It missed Kingman. We got all the side clouds. We got the cool weather. We got very little rain. It just blew right up the state line, right into Nevada, and Vegas got pummeled a little bit. I mean, they took it on the chin.
Yeah. No, it was strange to me that the path as it came up right over Southern California, but then right up through Vegas, right up through
Yeah.
Vegas.
You know what's funny to me is I for whatever reason I have this guy that does weather reports on my YouTube algorithm, and I was watching his report on the storm because I figured, what the hell? I had 8 minutes to kill. Let's see what this guy has to say because he has all the fancy radars and graphics and whatever else. And it was interesting. He said the water in the Pacific is so warm that's what's causing all these hurricanes. And there's two more right behind this one on the west coast. And the east coast, the reason there hasn't been a lot of hurricanes so far is because there's a layer of dust that's kind of hovering over the Atlantic Ocean
Uh huh.
and it hasn't settled yet. So it's kind of keeping the winds at bay down in Africa. And the fact that the waters in the Gulf and around Florida are pushing 85 and 90 degrees, so it's bath water.
Yeah.
Once that dust settles, and it will settle, there looks to be about 4 or 5 hurricanes over the next 3 to 4 weeks that should be coming straight through Hurricane Alley up there. So it sounds like business is about to pick up in hurricane and monsoon season.
Well, and there was a news report today that FEMA is running out of money. They've had so many natural disasters this year that they're starting to run out of money. Each of the natural disasters has cost FEMA $1 billion, and they're basically out of funds.
It's funny that a government entity like that would run out of funds, but that's a different topic for a different day, you know.
Well, and they haven't even addressed the Maui
Fires. Yeah.
natural emergency. That's looking at billions of dollars if they're going to help with that too. And they said they have enough to kind of get started, but not nearly enough to finish that project. So I get the feeling that it's that's probably why so many of these people that lost everything are just selling the land to rich people because they said, hey, at least I'm going to get something.
Well, that's the conspiracy theory that came out of that fire in Hawaii. That's all over the socials. That the government has direct energy weapons. Not saying it's true. Don't know if I believe it. I would tend to believe that there's more. The down power line triggered a fire. But the theory is that the people that their houses burned were offered to be bought out by resorts and rich folk, and they said no. So their homes got burned. Everything got burnt up, which is it's a reach. But it's interesting that that's where we're at in this world where ideas like that and thoughts like that enter the thought process of people, and they have to make videos about it to get clicks on TikTok and Instagram and all those other sites.
And you have to wonder, have you ever heard of a conspiracy theory about something that the government did that when something good happened?
No, I don't think those exist.
Those don't exist, right? You never hear of something said, oh, the government, the spotted owl is no longer an endangered animal because the government did this special thing. No one ever has that conspiracy theory. It's always negative shit. Maybe that's why
Yeah,
I don't like conspiracy
that's a
theories,
good
because
point.
they never talk about the positive. They're always negative, and I'm so tired of negative all the time.
I feel like you should go on the Reddits or wherever they post these conspiracy theories and just throw that truth grenade out there and see if you like all you can watch the collective minds explode of all those conspiracy theorists that hang out on those websites. You know,
Yeah, no,
that's like
I think that
when's the last time has the government ever had a good one?
uh, I don't know. According to the Trump cult, but yeah, they've had a ton of them. I
Yeah.
mean, I have friends that say that he's the best ever. He's the best president we've ever had. You ask him, well, what has he done? Silence. Like, so it doesn't really matter. They can't prove anything, but it's a great conspiracy theory about what amazing president he's been.
Yeah, well, I think those are two different things. I think that's just brainwashing versus actual conspiracy theories. But
But
that's
we've talked about this, that a conspiracy theory does not rest in any sort of fact, only in conjecture. And as soon as someone brings up a fact, then they instantly have a, well, yeah, but that's not real, so
I don't want to say it's not based in fact. I want to say that it's derived from an event that we were told is a fact or we saw to be a fact, and the reasoning behind said event is where the conspiracy theories tend to evolve. You know?
yeah, like there was an interesting news poll that came out, and we're talking about the GOP and how much the GOP just loves Donald Trump. And one of the questions that the poll question was, how ask GOP, what do you have more trust in? 71% of them put Trump as the number one person. Second was 62% family and friends. Third was I guess the fourth at 46%. 46% was their religious pastor or the religious church that they belong to. So they have more faith in Trump than they do their own family and friends.
That make you wonder why or how.
It tells me all I need to know. Cult. I mean, come on. Like, you don't even, like, you would trust Trump over your family and friends to tell you the truth.
But
That doesn't make any sense.
Let me ask you that though. Like, how do people? Because there's a lot of smart people that I thought to be smart, and some that are book smart or that look at that they have fallen in line with that, and I can't quite understand the why or the how. And a lot of what I've read is it's the way he speaks. He speaks at a certain level in a certain style that appeals to a lower standard of intelligence that makes people feel better because they feel superior as they hear it because they can identify with it. And
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is even more instinctual, that he's able to speak to an emotional click that people want to hear. They're emotionally tied to him. I don't think they're intellectually tied to him, but they're emotionally tied to him. And that has a lot of power.
yeah,
That has a
I,
lot of power. And frankly, I can totally understand why people, listen to him and think the world of him, because he taps into an emotional connection that is very powerful. My problem has always been, it's always a negative emotion. He never brings into something that aspires, makes us better. He always taps into negative anger, conspiracy theory. It's always a negative, which is a powerful emotion too, but it doesn't do anything because it dies out at some point. You know,
you know, it's funny because love him or hate him, the man has a true gift. But if you really want to entertain yourself, especially if you think the world of this guy, I think you need to search Jordan Klepper online. He used to be a reporter for the Daily Show, so he travels from MAGA rally to MAGA rally and asks the people attending the hard questions, like the serious questions, like what do you believe in about certain topics, and just watch the people answer for themselves. Because you're right, it's a very uneducated answer or very ignorant answer versus the reality of what our world actually is, which is a very dangerous place to be, because if that cult continues to expand and grow, if you're not careful, that's what takes over the power of the free world as the biggest country in the free world. Maybe not so much anymore, but
Yeah, and you know, I feel bad though, because I look at some of these people, and you and I know people personally. I don't think they're dumb people. I don't think they're not educated people. I don't know what the allure is, because
my
I
honest
have a
opinion.
friend. I have one friend in particular who's very smart. He is a very smart person, and his loyalty, or his undying loyalty to Trump, it just doesn't. It doesn't. I don't understand it. I just don't understand it. And I also think that our ability to debate anymore, people don't know how to debate. They put two and they put +2, and they think that if it's 2 and 2 it equals 4, but their logic doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
For example, like I've said before, money is green. Green things grow on trees. Therefore, money grows on trees. That's the logic. And while one statement is true and another statement is true, the combination of the two does not form a logical argument that
Yeah.
most debaters have to, I don't know. Did you ever do debate club when you were in high school?
No, I had to do a couple sections in like civics class, but that was
Okay.
about it.
Well, one of the things that they teach you in debate is, the A to B, the logical approach, the kind of the Socratic method of formulating an argument requires that if A and B, then C. And I find that most people now, A is true, B is true, but they don't form a good connection between those 2 points. And so as a result, their logic falls flat.
Yeah.
For example, right now with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden makes money doing shady shit. Hunter Biden is Joe Biden's son. Therefore, Joe Biden must be doing shady shit.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow. Because in that case, then every parent that had a child that did some criminal activity would be a criminal.
Yeah, but the biggest problem here is, and it's the internet. The internet is the greatest and worst thing for mankind, and I've said this on the show before. And while the best, it was created out of the best intentions, it has allowed this world to become keyboard warriors, to say opinions, make up opinions, and hide behind their keyboards and not get punched in the face or smacked in the mouth for saying things that are inflammatory, absolutely wrong, or a gross misjudgment in the temperature of the room. I just I don't think people realize that, or they just don't care that these words have consequences, and how they put them out there in the world matters.
Well, and it doesn't help the fact that we've gotten to the point where facts don't mean anything to anyone anymore.
Yeah.
You could show someone. That's why, you hear about some of these court cases where all the evidence points to someone being guilty of something, yet somehow they get off, right? Or they're either acquitted, or, they don't, it
On a
doesn't finish,
technicality,
the
yeah.
charges are dropped. And you look at it and think, well, he was charged with a crime. He was he was acquitted. Therefore, he didn't do the crime.
Yeah, that's a reach.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But you could also argue, I have a shitty attorney. You have an amazing attorney. The display of an argument is just as important as the argument itself. And there's some people that are just very skilled at, they can convince you of something even though your mind says that's impossible. They can convince you because it's almost like emotionally, I want to believe your story the way you're telling it because it makes total sense.
Have you watched The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix, the series,
Yes.
not the movie?
Yes.
And that's a very good series, by the way. Also,
Awesome series.
I
Yeah.
love the books. We get the audiobooks when we travel. Um, but yeah, Mickey Haller's very much like that. And the second season focuses very much on what you're talking about right there, where it's all the evidence points in one way, but the defendant is saying that she's innocent, and they have to figure out why. So it's the court, the court process is a dance.
Yeah.
The prosecution has to tell a story and dance around everything within the legal limits, and so does the defense. And it's interesting how it all works, and how it all plays out, and it all comes down to it all comes down to the juries. It really is interesting to see how the juries are formed and selected, and how they pick the one or two people on each side that they need to convince to either get the jury hung or get their clear conviction.
Yeah. I don't know. How long has it been since you watched the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Oh, it's been a couple years.
Okay. Well, do you remember that case was these two kids were definitely all the evidence pointed to the two kids.
Yeah.
And after each witness that Joe Pesci's character questioned, and then he proved that there was a hole in that part of the argument. His famous line is, "Now I'm done with this guy," and he brings up the next person, and now I'm done with this guy. Like he just beats up whatever their story is and puts holes in it. Before that used to prove something was actually true or someone's logic was not correct. Now you can prove all you want. Maybe Trump was right. He could go down Fifth Avenue, kill someone, and he wouldn't lose a voter.
No, I don't think he would. I don't think he would.
Which says a lot about the kind of people that we've become. That someone can commit a crime that anyone else did it, and you would want to lock them up, but your boy does it, and you don't care.
It's the do as I say, not as I do mentality.
Yeah.
The if I know, I'm wrong, if I yell loud enough and I point loud enough and I make a big enough deal, it doesn't matter if I know I'm wrong. I'm going to make you think I'm right. And
Yeah. I've actually started something new with some of my friends who make a claim that just doesn't sound right. As soon as they make the claim, I immediately ask them, "Are you stating this as an opinion or as a fact?"
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
And if they're stating it as a fact, then I know, okay, now I can go and say, "Hey, can you kind of explain it? Because that doesn't sound right to me." If they're stating it as an opinion, then I can say, "Okay, well, that's your opinion, and you're not stating it as a fact." But if they're stating something as a fact that I know is not a fact, then at least I can focus my efforts and say, "Okay, that doesn't make any sense to me. Let me do my own research on that because that doesn't sound."
You're also dealing in a society where they don't want to hear they're wrong.
Conspiracy theorists, I mean, they don't. If you put all your energy into a conspiracy theory, and then someone proves your conspiracy theory wrong, and that was what defined you, that's a pretty devastating emotional collapse.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody ever really believes their conspiracy theory ever gets debunked. I mean, you could deadass look somebody in the eye and say, your theory doesn't work, and here's why and how. And they can look at you and say, yeah, I don't believe that, because that's what they want you to believe. My theory still holds true, and I'm going to tell you why. And then they have another litany of reasons why they think their theory is the real reason X, Y, and Z is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like, so I don't believe that the government has an energy weapon that can cause bad things to happen to the environment to cause these kind of problems.
Yeah.
Now there, like you said though, there's some conspiracy theorists who thinks, no, that's totally why Maui burned up in flames. Then when you add in the fact, how come they didn't warn the people with the warning system? I can see what they're doing. They're asking questions like, well, obviously, why wouldn't you have done that? Because there's some conspiracy theory saying that they were told by someone not to do it because they want to sell the land, so while I get it,
the problem becomes is they ask the innocent question, the sincere question, and then the pylon effect, where people start, interjecting and speaking out of school and convincing people, no, this is why, man. Like, look at it this way, look at it that way, and And that's where the problems are, you know?
Have you watched the Depp versus Heard
Not
docuseries?
yet. I don't know if I want to.
I got to tell you, it was fascinating in the same, and maybe this is where it all came to me in my head subconsciously. I watched that, and you realize that little things that each of the attorneys did, not overtly but subvertly, had an impact on how that case was going to come through.
Oh, yeah.
Like the defense or Johnny Depp's lawyers suppressed information to the judge saying that, yeah, that wasn't, that there's nothing to this, right?
Yeah.
Well, then when, after the trial was over, the information was unsealed. And so people, got access to it. And there was a lot of evidence that would have proved that his defamation lawsuit against her may not have been a valid suit. But we never saw that because one attorney debated better than the other attorney about introducing the information in.
Well, that's what it is. You know, it's and you see in the court shows all the time where one of the counsels will say something and the other counsel will object and they'll say withdrawn. You know, you don't you know your question or your comment's going to be objected by the other party, but if you say it out there, the jury can't unhear it. They can't disregard testimony once they've heard it. The judge can tell them to, but just because you tell me to unhear something doesn't mean I've unheard and forgotten about it.
Right. Yeah.
And and there's a lot of tactics behind that and a lot of gamesmanship with how you're supposed to operate. And I understand why lawyers get paid what they do. That's a very hard job. You have to be on your game at all times, and I want no part of that.
Well, and let's be honest, that's why we have the jokes of, what do you call 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean? A good start. Like, that's why we say those jokes, because they're slimy. They're slimy. They manipulate, they use their knowledge of the law to sometimes manipulate.
Well, it's interpretation, and that's what it is. It's how one person interprets the law versus another. And I love to live in the gray, because so many people live in black and white, and that's fine. If you're a person that lives in the black and white, I appreciate the fact that you can look at the black and the white and you can say, this is right, this is wrong, this is how you do it, this is how you don't do it. I'm the opposite way. I will try to find every way around it or through it within the reasoning of the wording, as long as I can explain and talk my way through it. And you've known me long enough. I think you've heard me see it. You've heard me say it and do it a few times, sometimes successful, sometimes not. But I think it's important to explore how people interpret rules and whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean, my problem is that I'm a rule follower for the most part. If I'll give you a perfect example, we went out to lunch, and there was a big group of us that went out to lunch, and so we were in line waiting for lunch, and my name was at the front counter. Our table became ready, but they had not called us yet.
Yeah.
You could see that the table was ready, but they didn't call us yet. Well, one of the members said, Jason, go get our table. Go get our table. And my thought is, the rules are they call me and tell me my table's ready.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I see the table's ready. I'm assuming that's going to be our table. But they tell me. I don't tell them to seat me when they're ready. They tell me. And so I was getting worked up, and Noreen said, what's wrong? I said, and I kind of explained later, I don't know why, but I was out of my comfort zone because I'm a rule follower. If they say you wait 12 hours before you eat something, I'm one of these that waits 12 hours. I don't say, well, it's been 8. What do they know? And do what,
When it's health related, it's different. I tend to follow the people that, went to school for 12 years, but that's just me.
And yet maybe in our society, though, the people who go against the rules are the ones that a lot of times make it further, There's success that goes with not following the rules, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's, I guess, both sides to it. Those who follow the rules do get rewarded, and those who don't also tend to get rewarded because they quote unquote blazed their own trail. They didn't listen to what the rules were, and they made their own rules. So that's where it becomes more guidelines than actual rules.
I mean, 8 years ago, if a presidential candidate had been indicted 4 times, they wouldn't be a presidential candidate anymore.
No.
They certainly would not be the leader of that party.
Yeah.
They certainly would not be the leader of that party. I mean, let's be honest. Gary Hart had to drop out because he was found to have had an extramarital affair, and he dropped out of the presidential. I mean, we've already got that covered a couple times with Trump. I mean, like he's been accused of a few improprieties, and it doesn't stop him. So, times change and breaking the rules. Maybe it does. Maybe there's something to be said about forging forward and start, making your own rules.
Yeah, it's anyone can tell you no, and you can keep on going when someone tells you no until the person at the very top of the decision-making pyramid tells you no.
Yeah.
Because what is our first rule of life is 50 no's and a yes is still a yes. I don't care if you tell me no, I can't do it. I'm going to keep doing it until someone says, yeah, you're doing it right.
Right.
To validate me. It's all about validation.
Yeah.
And it's a weird world we live in where, it's in the political realm right now where it's not about, wrong or right or what's best for society. It's either you support someone with a little R next to their name or a little D. And God forbid if you have the R, you support someone with a D, or the D and you support someone with an R, because you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this more dangerous, because it becomes intimidation at a certain point and peer pressure where, oh, well, you didn't vote for him. Well, you go to all the meetings, you do all the things, you should be voting for that guy. So both sides become a cult at that point, because free thought and free speech goes out the window. You have to fall in line.
Right. Yeah. I've always felt that people who supported Donald Trump only support him because he's a political candidate. They would never want to work with someone like Donald Trump.
I think
I don't think most of these people would be a personal close friend to someone like Donald Trump, to be honest. I don't see how you would be friends with someone who wants loyalty from you but throw you under the bus in a heartbeat. Who wants to be friends with someone like that?
My theory on that is you're looking at the guy who did The Apprentice. You're looking at a guy that, he on pay, quote unquote, does and says the things you wish you could do. He has the power and the money to do all the things these idiots wish and hope they could do. So you're right. They want to be his friend. They want to be, all about him until they get to that certain inner circle and they realize that, oh man, this guy is going to use me to get what he wants and leave me behind.
I mean, I think that maybe that's it. And I'm okay. I've gotten to a point now where, hey, I totally understand why I just am not going to be one of those someones. I mean, I feel like there's a big group of us in this country who it doesn't matter if Joe Biden is 98 years old. If he was running against Trump, it doesn't matter. We're not going to vote for Trump, period. End of story, right? It wouldn't matter what they throw at us. I would not vote for Trump. Just like there's some people that I don't care if Trump went into my house and molested my 3-year-old daughter. I'm still going to vote for him. There's some people that are just like that.
Yeah, I get it. I agree.
So I've gotten past the point of what are you thinking? Because a lot of times, like we're, kind of wrapping this up, that you get convinced of something and he's good at convincing emotionally what you want to hear.
Yeah.
I just don't like the emotional message that he convinces people that they want. But,
I get that.
But for other people, hey, it works great. So,
yeah. So as we wrap up today's show, do you believe in any weird conspiracy theories that maybe are right or probably not? We want to hear about it. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. The fall is quickly approaching, and Denver is beautiful in the fall, from what I understand. So our EP wants to know, where can he go for a fun Friday night in the Denver metropolitan area in the fall? Hit him up at Liquid_EP on Twitter and the Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the only weather that I've heard from Denver is they had a heck of a lot of rain this year.
Yeah.
Like a ton of rain. They said more rain than anything. So, but
Good.
when you're in the interior of the country, like where they are, snow and rain is about it, right? You don't get a
Yeah.
lot of flash floods. You don't get a lot of tornadoes. You don't get a lot of hurricanes.
And it's the mountains. They're made for that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that being said, Jason, take us home.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate you. That was Scott. I am Jason. And as always, if you